My uncle kicked me out of the business. A true inspired story. I am Ava. Now, I am 28 years old. This story begins when I was just 19 years old. We had a small electronics and mobile accessories shop in a busy part of Houston, Texas, near downtown. My dad had passed away when I was only 16. Mom and I were left alone. Then my uncle, Victor, who had come from another state, said to me, "Sweetheart, this is a family matter. I'll take care of everything. You just study and work with me." Uncle Victor was very charismatic. His voice had a special power that could draw anyone in. He gave the business a new name, Techstar Electronics, and he started expanding it into other neighborhoods of Houston. I worked day and night with him. After college, I would go straight to the shop, managing stock, talking to suppliers, starting online sales. I handled everything. Uncle would always say, "Ava, you are like my own daughter. This business is for you. Together, we will build an empire." The first 3 to 4 years felt like a dream. The business doubled in size. We even opened 2 more branches, one in the Galleria area and another in Spring. I stayed up until midnight making Excel sheets, checking new gadget trends. Uncle only handled the big meetings and major deals. People would often say, "Victor's niece is so hardworking," and I would smile with pride. But slowly, things started to change. When I turned 23, Uncle began bringing his own son, Ryan, into the business. Ryan was only 20 at that time and hadn't even finished his studies. Uncle gave him the fancy title, marketing head. Ryan just made Instagram reels and went to parties. Whenever I complained, Uncle would say, "Sweetheart, we are family. Give everyone a chance." One day, the manager of our Galleria branch told me that some stock was missing. When I investigated, I found out that Ryan had taken expensive earphones and smartwatches for personal use. When I told Uncle about it, he folded his hands and said, "Let it go, Ava. He is young, he made a mistake. You are older, you should understand." After that day, my decisions started getting ignored. I suggested a new supplier who could give us cheaper and better quality products. It was rejected. Instead, they chose Ryan's friend's supplier, who was much more expensive. Profits began to drop, but Uncle would simply say, "The market is slow." Then came that day, March 12, 2024. I reached the shop early in the morning and found the locks had been changed. The security guard looked at me and said, "Ava, Mr. Victor has ordered that you are not allowed inside." I was completely shocked. I immediately called Uncle. He answered calmly and said, "Ava, let's sit and talk. Come to the office." When I reached the office, everything was already set up. Uncle, his wife, my aunt, Ryan, and a lawyer were all sitting there. Documents were neatly placed on the table. Uncle looked at me and said, "Sweetheart, the business is now being converted into a formal partnership." We have decided that you will no longer have an active role here. Your contribution was huge, but now Ryan has to lead. We will give you $10,000 as compensation and say thank you." My head started spinning. Compensation. This was my dream. I gave 7 long years to this business. Every single dollar, every sleepless night was for this. Uncle looked down at the floor, but his voice remained firm. He said, "This is a family business, Ava. Family makes the decisions. Go out and do something on your own. This is good for you." Aunt added softly, "Sweetheart, become independent now. There is always a place for you in the family, but not in the business." Ryan just sat there, smiling quietly. That night, I went home and cried. When I told Mom everything, she also broke down. She said, "Your dad had warned me not to trust Victor too much." The next few months were pure hell. I started looking for jobs, but all my experience was only from the family business. People would ask me, "Why did your uncle kick you out?" I felt ashamed. Money started running out fast. Even the rent for Mom's small house became difficult to pay. But here comes the twist. I decided I would not give up. On a small old laptop, I started my own YouTube channel, Tech with Ava. I made videos about mobile reviews, budget gadget tips, and Houston market hacks. In the first month, I only had 500 subscribers. Then one video suddenly went viral. How to import directly from China without middlemen. It crossed hundreds of thousands of views. People started commenting, "Girl, why don't you start your own business?" I gathered all my courage. I reached out to my old contacts. One old supplier, who was upset with Uncle, agreed to give me stock on credit. I started a small online store from just one room in our house, Ava Gadgets. No big showroom, just WhatsApp and Instagram. The first month was a real struggle. The second month, I managed to break even. And by the third month, I started making profit. People were supporting me because they knew my real story. One day, an old customer from the Galleria area called and said, "Ava, we don't go to your uncle's store anymore. Their quality has gone down. We will buy from you now." 6 months later, my small business was doing more sales than one of Uncle's branches. I rented a small office and hired 2 young guys. Mom was so happy. She said, "Your dad is watching from above, and he is proud." Then came the biggest twist of all. 1 year later, Uncle's business started failing badly. Ryan's wrong decisions, bad deals, and tough competition in the market caused heavy losses. One day, Uncle and Ryan came to meet me. There were tears in Uncle's eyes. He said in a broken voice, "Ava, sweetheart, I made a big mistake. Please come back. We can make a partnership again." I looked at him, the same uncle who once called me his daughter. But I had changed. I replied calmly, "Uncle, you taught me something important. In a family business, it's not just blood that matters, it's trust. You broke that trust. Now I have built my own empire. Sorry, but I am better off alone. He still requested for help. I only gave him advice, nothing more. Today, his business is still surviving, but it has become much smaller. My Ava Gadgets now runs with 5 employees, and I am planning to open my first physical store next year. This story is not just about betrayal. It is about rising again. When your own family pushes you down, that is the moment you show your real strength. If you are also working in a family business and you feel the trust is getting weak, keep your documents clear, build your own skills, and always keep a plan B ready. Because sometimes getting kicked out is exactly what starts your real journey.